All right, hey game devs, let's talk about how I unwrapped this to make it look like the way it does and how it's tiled and stuff like that. This is not exactly my model, but it's fine for now. Anyway, let's go out of subobject mode, go to UV Unwrap, and take a look at what I've done. Open editor. When you come into the UV editor, um, what you'll see is all your stuff laid on top of each other. So if I grab this face, you'll see it's all inside of here. And if I grab this face, it's, like on the outside or whatever. So how do I work with all of these materials at the same time? Here's the cool thing. Max put this in a while ago. If you go down here to all IDs, you just change it to frame. And now you get to see what your frame is doing. And in this case, our frame is the weird one that's heading outside the edges. Now, if I was going to make this texture by myself, I might have done it a little bit differently, but we're just going to assume that this is the way they wanted it done. So what I've done is, and one of the things you can't see is it tiles, right? Everything always tiles, it's just depending on how you do it. It looks like I have a little weird thing going on. But if I push this tile button, you'll see where it's tiling. And what I've done is everything outside, let me pull back up the picture, everything outside like this is just tiling down to the next area, and I've made sure that there's a gap and a gray area on the edges. So like this is gray and this is gray, and this one's probably not even the best. If you can see, it's kind of stretched out and stuff. We'd have to fix it. There's some stuff going on for the reason that is that way. This one's probably better. Yeah, this one's better. I just hadn't fixed that one. This one's stretched and that one's stretched, so I need to fix them, probably because they're all attached. Anyway, so what I've done is I've said here, and it goes to here, and it goes, well, let's pick the good one, which I think was this top one. And it's got this overlap thing right here. You want to be careful to not actually go across here because you could get a actual transparency, a break. So we may do something different. I could have just taken this and dragged it down so it's sitting on top of each other. I was just trying to give you the example of what is actually going on. It's repeating the texture. I'm just using this part of the texture on this back side of the thing. So there's another example I'm going to show you in class that, if you want to have multi-sub stuff, then you can do that. And the reason is, let me give you an idea. What would have happened if I had said I wanted to do this all on one texture? Let's just assume that this texture right here is let's use this right here so we can kind of get an idea. I'm just going to grab everything right quick. I'm going to go back to standard, all IDs. I'm going to grab everything so I have the frame and everything. I'm going to go to tools. I'm going to say pack UVs like this. Okay, so my frame is here, parts of my frame is here, parts of my other frame is here. Here's the picture. To be able to fit everything on this frame, I would have had to have this all laid out like that. So if I go back to material ID real quick, and let me do this. Let me collapse this, and then I'll say this one. I'll select ID1 actually. And I'll change it to ID2. So it's just using the painting texture. Now if I go back to materials, you'll see that I'm just using this picture right here. It's only going to be the one that's active because that's number 2, and that's what we're using. So go back into UV Unwrap, and let me show you what we're seeing and why we want to have multi-sub sometimes. So because I only have this area to work with and I'm not tiling, or even if I did tile, we can talk about how we'd make this tile, but because I'm doing that, this is as big as I can make the picture. So if I open this picture, I would have to shrink it down to fit inside of this area to make it look right, which means that here I can even just do it real quick. File. Actually, you know what? I'll show you. I'll show you this. So I've called this a coloring book before, so I'm going to use the coloring book thing that I was talking about. So if I call this a coloring book, how do I get the coloring book out of here? Because it's all laid out in a nice, clean, manner or whatever, and it's whatever. Suppose it's exactly what I want. Perfect. I go to Tools, And I think there's a button for this now down here somewhere, but I'm just not used to looking for it. So render UVW template, and let me see what size that texture actually is. It's 429 by 315. Yay. Okay, so one of the other things I can show you inside of here, this picture is not square, even though it shows up in here. When I come back in here, I'll show you how to change it so you see the right resolution of the picture. It doesn't really matter, it's just for our own eye's sake. But for this point, I'm going to say we'll say 1024 by 512. Sure. And what we do is we render a UV template. And it does kind of matter when you render this, because I know I need to fit everything inside of here. And I will say save, and I will say save it in that same place. Test UVW, oops, not question mark, VW. I'm going to change it to a Targa and say save. And then I definitely want 32, because 32 makes it have an alpha. So I'm going to go back to Photoshop, pull it over here so we can look at it in here. Okay, and then I'm going to say File, Open, and I'm going to go to that same folder, and I'm going to find, hopefully I saved it in this folder. Well, first off, let me look at the pictures for the weird one. Oh, I'm in that folder now. Okay, so I have to go to the class folder that we were just in, which makes sense. Okay. So we have the test UVW, and then we can come down here to weirdo picture. Open. Okay. There's the picture. Here's the UV. Okay. So first thing I'm going to do is go to the picture, copy it, Control A, Control C, come over here and paste it. So I have a layer with it in there, and this is the wrong scale and everything, but that's fine. Because I shouldn't have, well, this picture isn't 1024, it isn't a power of 2, so it's kind of a problem. But what I'm missing from my window here is channels. My brain is totally dying. I see it now. Where is it showing up? Oh, it's all the way over here. Sorry, guys. It's not even guys. All right, so I look in here and I look at my alpha, and it's pretty much the same alpha, and that's the reason we make it 32-bit, because now I can copy, Control, and click on the alpha, go to the layers, and then Control and paste. Control and C, Control V. Control C, Control V. There we go. So now if I hide this and I just throw a black picture behind it, or a black image, you'll see this is just the coloring book, like I was calling it. So let's just pretend this is the right resolution. I would need to shrink this sucker down that big to fit in there. I'm just going to do it once and have black edges. Okay, and then I would hide this and I would export it, and then I would have to bring in here. I could even bring in open the frame, Control A, Control C, Control V, Control T, and of course this one is a right size, but that's fine. We're just going to take, oh, you know what, let's look at something. I'm going to make it fit inside of here for now. I'm going to do this. Delete the bottom part. Deselect V Alt. Oops. All this. Maybe rotate it. Rotate it. Looks like I need to do some scaling a little bit here. I'm going to move this up. We're going to, whatever. That's fine. You get the idea. Then I hide this, and usually I name this, by the way, UVW, and it can change, and we can paste a new one back in anytime we want. I'm going to save this as compressed single texture, and we'll name it, and we'll just make it a JPEG. Save. Okay. Then I come back to Max, and if I go ahead and hide this, or close that, and then I go back to Material Editor, and I'm going to take that material, go to this one, click on Picture, click on this one, and say Compressed Texture. Let's close this. Now it fits inside of here, but it's really, really low res because I had to shrink it. It's much lower res than it should have been, and of course I don't have that. These are okay because we were already wasting space in that texture anyway. But my point being that this is a waste of resolution of texture. If it needs to be this big, and this is how big you're allowed to use it for, or you're allowed to use one texture, then yeah, you have to do this. But if you don't, then that's why we use multi-sub, so we can have a better resolution for the picture and then a better resolution for the frame. So that's that.